2022 draft coverage is presented by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning.
So let's get right to it. Let's get on the clock. Phil Perry, give me your top 10 picks in this year's draft.
All right, Trenni, here we go. With pick number 1 overall, the Jaguars are going to go with Trayvon Walker, the edge defender out of Georgia. Freaky traits. Aiden Hutchinson goes second to the Lions. He's sticking in Michigan. Nick Caserio and the Texans, they go with an Alabama tackle, Evan Neal. Then the Jets at 4 go with Ahmad Sauce Gardner, the long corner. The Giants go with the tackle themselves with Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. Then Ike Ekwonu goes to the Panthers, staying in the Carolina area there from NC State. Derek Stingley, one of the most talented corners in the draft, goes to the Giants at 7. At number 8, Jamison Williams, the receiver coming off an ACL, goes to Atlanta. Then at 9, it's Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon, the edge defender, going to Seattle. And at number 10, the Jets are up again, and they go with the receiver here in Drake London from USC.
All right, my little actors, we're in the Patriots war room right now. Both of you are a big part of it. How are you reacting, Tom, if you see this go down in the first 10 picks?
Well, I'm focused on the AFC East, and I'm focused on the Jets, so I'm looking back and saying, if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm saying, Sauce, good player. Not surprised there. And then as for Drake London, well, they're throwing another dart. I don't blame them. They're trying to get somebody for Zach Wilson. Do we have the artillery on our back end to deal with Drake London, who can just scale the ladder and pull down, 50-50 balls left and right? They're going to have to react to those 2 picks.
And it's kind of interesting, too, if you think about it, because the corners that could be available to them at 21, Trent McDuffie, I think, is a really solid fit for them. A little bit of a little guy. Kaiir Elam from Florida, who I think they'd also have some interest in, is 6'1.5". So it could affect the way that they build their team a little bit. And they don't have the big number 1 corner, your Darrelle Revis, your Aqib Talib, like your Stephon Gilmore, the big long guy.
Your lengthy coasting guy.
Right.
Yes.
Your long levered guy. And that's what the Patriots have to bear in mind with this draft is what's Miami got, what's the Jets got, what does Buffalo have?
I also think
good move for the Jets?
Would be a good move for the Jets, I think, to get Zach Wilson some help because you need to get answers on him before the end of year 3. So the faster you can get answers on him, the better. I also think seeing 2 corners off the board early, your radar goes up if you're the Patriots, because that means the 3rd corner, Trent McDuffie, is probably coming off sooner, which could wind up shortening the supply that's there for you at 21.
If you are in that Patriots room, do you go, oh, thank God, now we don't have to have everyone say, why didn't you take Jamison Williams because he's off the board early?
No, because I'm looking at the top 10, and I'm basically sitting there and saying, it would be nice if he dropped to maybe 15 or 16 to even get us in the ballpark. But right now, we don't have the artillery to go up, and we're not going to mortgage the rest of our draft to try and get up because we have many needs. So if he was there later, that might be removed. But I think 1 through 10, they're not really reacting much.
Smart pick.
To me, I would think, if you were, say, you had a deal worked out to go to 15 and he goes 12, that's where maybe you're kicking yourself a little bit. You're God, sure. Maybe we should have gone the extra mile to get him. But if he goes 8th overall, like Phil has him, I think that's probably a little too rich for them in any scenario.
All right, let's return to the big mock draft with one Phil Perry. Phil, 11 through 15, you're on the clock.
All right, so at number 11, Washington is going to go with an Ohio State receiver. We could hear about him from Bert maybe in a little bit. Garrett Wilson. So they get a running mate there for Terry McLaurin, another Ohio State guy. At 12, the Vikings go with Kyle Hamilton, one of the best players in this draft, but he plays a position that people aren't all that high on, so he slides to 12. Caserio up again, and he's building through the trenches. A very Belichickian pick here at 13. Jordan Davis, the massive defensive tackle from Georgia. At 14, the Ravens go with an edge defender, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, who looks like a Patriots fit. And at 15, the Eagles go with another interior defensive lineman, another one from Georgia, Devontae Wyatt.
All right, Bert, if you're the Patriots, how are you reacting to this? Because this is getting closer and closer, maybe into that trade range.
Well, I do see, again, the corners. They didn't come off the board there, so that's an important piece. I also think Jordan Davis is sort of one of these Parcells Planet player types, Sure. He's somebody I might have an interest in, or maybe I'd even move up for, because the idea of putting him and Barmore together on the inside, you can cause a lot of problems if you've got those 2 contrasting styles.
All right, my antenna's up. My antenna is way up if I'm the Patriots, because I'm looking at 16 through 20, leading up to my pick at 21, and I'm seeing double picks that are going to be coming with Philadelphia and the Saints both. And teams, Atlanta's in there as well.
No, Chargers.
Chargers are in there as well. So you have 3 teams consuming the next 5 picks. the Patriots are looking at it and saying, okay, we have corners that haven't gone off the board. We have wide receivers who haven't gone off the board. 2 of these teams are probably going to take quarterbacks. So we have an opportunity to have really good players slide to us at 21. If I'm the Patriots, I'm real excited. And I'm even calling up, if I found anybody in that group, Trenni, who slid in there that I didn't expect to be there.
So if Tom is correct, and that's how the Patriots are feeling, Birch, can they trade up? Like, what would it take for them to get and move up and get one of the guys that
That's
they
a
want?
pretty short move up. Like, I think maybe...
And you got NFC teams you're dealing with the Eagles and Saints.
I mean, a 3 or a 4 might get it done there. And look, like, I mean, I've been saying this for 2 months. Like, Chris Olave's sitting there still. And I think he's a lot like Terry Glenn, the way that he plays. He's A-plus character, better character than his teammate Garrett Wilson, probably the cleanest character of any receiver in the draft. So he feels like a fit for me. And so if I'm Bill, I'm thinking about maybe this is a way to kind of, like we talked about with the Jets, get answers on my young quarterback a little bit faster if I can give him somebody to grow with.
OHIO, Bert, always. All right, speaking of that Ohio State wide receiver, is he on the next set of this 16 through 20? We're getting closer and closer to those Patriots, Phil Perry, aren't we?
We are, and they don't trade up with the Saints to number 16 overall. So New Orleans sticks there, and they take Chris Olave at 17 overall. The Chargers are up. They need to get, I know, the Patriots war room is making noise that can be heard across the country. The Chargers, they get a tackle for their young quarterback, Justin Herbert. It's Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. Now, the 18 overall spot is a spot I could see the Patriots trying to move up to get this player. It's Trent McDuffie, who I think is the best corner left in this year's class, but he goes to Philly in this scenario. 19, the Saints are up again, and they get a quarterback in the dome. Kenny Pickett, he can wear his gloves, not have to worry about the weather. And Malik Willis goes off the board to the Steelers at number 20. So 2 quarterbacks go there right before the Patriots pick.
I don't know, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Patriots, maybe other than McDuffie and Olave, look at that and go, oh, all right, maybe we're fine with this.
Oh, my God. I think they're over the moon because you are ostensibly, because those 2 quarterbacks went and you don't have a need at that position, you're ostensibly picking 17th, 18th, whatever it is. Do the math for me.
Yeah.
You have the 19th pick in the draft.
You've moved up in the draft without having to give anything up for it.
Exactly. Because those were basically passes by those teams in terms of trying to get into your business with the players that you would like.
Okay, devil's advocate, if you think a receiver's a need, the top 4, like that's the first tier, London, Olave, Wilson, Williams, those guys are all gone now. And then, you know, from what I understand, most teams look at it this way, where Stingley and Sauce are the first group of corners, drop off, McDuffie, another drop off, and then the next group. So if you look at receiver and corner and you say, I'd like to come away with a top-tier player at that position, I think now you're probably dealing with the second tier at each of those spots.
To Albert's point, this was an interesting quote from Panthers GM Scott Fitterer, who said this week they're at the 6th spot. They want to move back. He said, if we move back, we want to stay in the teens. Because the drop-off comes after the teens, around 20, 21, 22, where the Patriots are. Phil has mentioned this a few times. The sweet spot really goes until 20. Again, they might benefit from those 2 quarterbacks going and dropping some good players, really good players down. And it's a crapshoot anyway. But the notion that the top players are 20 and, 10 to 25 to 20, whatever it is, and then there's a little drop-off, to Albert's point. If you want to go up, get up there to 18 and get that last player before the quarterbacks go.
All right, this is all played out exactly how Phil has it laid out. You're in that room. Who do you want to take? Like, knowing that you're up next, who are you taking? Who do you want to see the Patriots take?
Who am I taking?
Yeah, who do you want to see the Patriots take?
I'm taking the fastest defensive player who can impact the biggest portion of the field, whoever that might be. And I'm not going to say it because I think Phil has the guy in mind that I have in mind. But I don't care about wide receiver, and I really don't care about guard and tackle, and I don't care about cornerback. I need somebody to neutralize the middle of the field and Josh Allen. And then maybe a cornerback would be my second option.
I'm taking Quay Elam from Florida, who's a bigger, longer corner, like not as good a player on tape as Trent McDuffie, but has so much high-end potential. He ran much faster than people thought he would. He ran in the 4.3s. He's also an NFL legacy, which I think matters to Bill. I think that sort of thing counts with him. A.B. Elam, you guys might remember him, played safety for the Cowboys and the Jets. It's his son. And so I think you can look at a guy who interviewed really well, who's got length, who's got speed, who has some room to grow as a player, but you could project him into being a better pro than he was a college player.
A legacy.
Thanks for not ruining the big debut,
reveal.
the big reveal here. With the 21st pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, Phil Perry, the Patriots choose.
The Patriots are choosing linebacker Quay Walker out of Georgia. He allows the Patriots to have their cake and eat it too when it comes to the linebacker position, because traditionally they've liked big bodies, but now they have to get faster. And Walker gives them both size and athleticism at the second level. 240 plus pounds. I've talked to defensive coaches over the last week or so about Walker in particular. The things you hear, unbelievably tough, violent, physical, incredible upside because of the athleticism he gives you. He ran his 40 in the low 4.5s at that size. That is rare talent. And so to Tom's point, where the Patriots are a team that typically in the draft, early in the draft, they like to build their defense from the inside out. Think about all those defensive tackles they've taken, all those linebackers they've taken in the first round. They've only taken one corner in the first round under Bill Belichick, and he became a safety to play in the middle of the field. That's Devin McCourty. So Quay Walker, to me, between the ability he gives you and the connection he has, coming from Georgia, coming from that Kirby Smart program, where he's coming from a defense that has a lot of similarities to the scheme that's run here in Foxborough, this feels like a Patriots pick to me.
When you were weighing this pick, who else were you considering, Phil? Like, who did you choose Walker over?
Elam, to me, Albert's pick, is near the top of the list because they do want corners, and they do still want corners that can play man-to-man, and he's considered one of the best man corners in this year's class. I've also heard that in terms of his character and everything he would bring off the field, he would be a fit in that Patriots locker room. I'd also be looking at Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College, because the Patriots also like to fill immediate needs in the first round. And that at guard, I know it's a guard, and you can usually get that on day 3. The Patriots have proven that over the years, but that might be the most glaring opening on really their starting roster on either side of the ball, guard right now. So Zion Johnson would make some sense here too.
All right, Phil, it's your Christmas Eve. I hope you can get this tonight. I know how excited you are. And wow, like we have magic on this show. Look at Tom Giles is here now. How do you feel?
Curran just nailed Phil's pick too, I believe.
He did. He did. So, Giles, you haven't had a chance to speak in this yet. How do you feel about Quay Walker? We know that Tommy Curran likes it.
We just went over it's Phil's Christmas Eve, so now I feel like it's Christmas Day. And, you get the gifts, and you got the linebacker. I wanted a linebacker, but there's a wide receiver sitting right there, too. Traylon Burks, like, what are we doing? I'd like a little bit more. I'd like Traylon Burks. He's a guy who seems like he fell a little bit.
And you got a train
I
set.
did, man. I wanted speed. I'm a simpleton. I just wanted the shiny toy. That to me is what kind of stands out right there. But I can't. It would be unfair of me to say that I'd be disappointed with them taking a linebacker in Quay Walker, because at least it's not an offensive lineman. If it's an offensive lineman, that's a sweater, and I don't want a sweater.
I think they may take Jahan Dotson over Traylon Burks, and I got a great Traylon Burks story, like one of those pre-draft stories, right? He's got trouble keeping weight off. He played in the 240s at points last year. A team told me they went to Fayetteville to work him out. He had a salad for dinner and still weighed 232 the next day. And that created some doubt that he could keep it.
What do you mean? Just because he had one salad, he still weighed 232? Hold on.
Because he chose to eat a salad the night before and still weighed in at 232 the next day. They were like, that's not great.
I don't know if that's the story you thought that it was going to be. Because one salad is not going to make it fall off you, man.
No, but I mean,
especially if you have Suzy Q's for lunch.
You might feel a little lighter than
you might have a little less water weight.
It's a good story.
Starve,
it's a good story.
A little bit.
And I love Dotson, and that'll be a good second-round pick. Here, when I look at this pick, though, I see that number 7 running around for an SEC team, and you remember that Gerard Mayo was wearing number 7 for Tennessee, terrorizing sideline to sideline, 4-5, one of the best athletes. Look, Albert, when we look at the Patriots and the reason they lost to Buffalo, they didn't make them punt. Why didn't they make them punt? Well, they didn't get pressure. They were slow at the second level. They couldn't compete. So to me, that's why, for all the things that you could do on the outside offensively, this is as close to plug and play as you could get.
And is he a better athlete than some of the other guys, too? Because that seems what they need is speed and athleticism.
We talk about how the linebacker position's changed. Like, this guy's built in an old school way. And so he profiles, like you look at him physically, profiles a little like Dante Hightower. Now, the problem with him is going to be, do you think he's got the football IQ to play in your defense? That's the biggest question with him. And I don't know. It might be a disqualifying factor for them if they look at a guy that they draft there and say, we want to put the green dot on his helmet. One of the reasons he didn't start till his 4th year at Georgia was said to be the reason that he didn't pick up Kirby Smart's defense fast enough.
And Nakobe Dean was kind of a genius playing next to him. He did wear the green dot. The information I've gotten is he's got great instincts, but he would be a tough fit for the Patriots because he's a little on the small side.
And his medical is very complicated, which with a smaller player.
Yeah, you can't afford that.
It's just a combination of size and medical questions.
Starting to feel like we're getting socks for Christmas. I don't know.
Brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when the drains don't flow.